Cabinet tool that's a separate tool in its own right, a bit like polystairs and railings. This only shows cabinets, and we actually have 4 elements that make up the cabinet tool. So we have standard cabinet, we have cabinet doors, or fascias. We then have an end panel, an end unit, and we also have a pelmet. So we start off with just the standard cabinet. There's a number of ways we can work with it here, so I'm going to take the basic carcass, and we can choose a couple of options. We can go for a cabinet front, which actually converts to this here. We can stick with the rectangular unit we've got, and we can have interior or exterior corners depending on the requirements. In terms of setting it out, we have 2 options. We can either set the module width, so in this case it's 1200 wide, the units in it are 600. If we were to make it 1800, you'll see how it now extends over the various bits. These sizes can be anything. I happen to be using the international English version of Archicad. The units here are set for metric units. If you're in the US and work with imperial units, it'll switch to your units. In the European continent, you might work in centimetres. Our tools all work with whatever the localised version of Archicad is, so the units will be adapted to your own particular requirements. So we can set these various sizes, module widths, heights, anything we want with them really. We can set the depth of the units. We can set a different way where we actually set a number of modules. So here we've gone for an 1800 size. We could say we want to have 3 modules in there, and off it goes and works out what the configuration is based on those settings. So I'm going to leave it with, let's make it 450s just to be a bit more interesting. And what we can then do is go and take a look at the set out. So I want nice, simple symmetrical stuff here. So we want to have a 150 drawer. And what you'll see is that creates an opening both sides. We'll then have drawers in section 1 and in section 3. And if we take a look at the surfaces, in here we can control some of the different aspects of it here. So in this case it's the walls, the shelves, the base and the plinth. Now I'm not going to take the time to go through all of those, so I'll just leave those as they are. But if we move on to doors and drawers, what we can do is choose maybe a beveled edge. We have lots of different options where we can have grooves, we can have louvers, we can have a vertical groove, we can set the various angles and things, but I'm just going to keep it simple, just a nice simple beveled edge. Quite happy with that. If we're doing an infill panel, we can go set the angle of any louvers and things in there. We can then choose what the surfaces are. So I'm going to stick with this oak light because it does actually have a visible grain to it, and you'll see when we actually look at the 3D, you will be able to see that pattern and how it angles, etc. For handles, we have a range here that we can choose from. We also have a custom option where you can go and create your own and use that if required. I'll just go for a full length bar. Let's reduce that to 9mm. We'll make it 200 wide, and we'll make it just 30mm proud of the face. We can set the position on the drawers, so it can be top, centred or switched off. We can do the same for the doors, top, bottom or none. And again, we can set the surfaces. So let's go for ivory black. We then have the option to play with the counter. So here we can actually switch off the bench top if we want. We've still got the nosing and the upstand, but we can switch that on and off if required. We can set overhangs, so let's just go 100mm each end. We'll step it back 100mm because we want to have cables or pipework or whatever behind the unit itself. And we can set what the protrusion is across the front here. We can also choose what happens if this is a freestanding unit or if it's going to merge with cabinets to the left and right, as it would be in a normal kitchen environment where you've got multiple units next to each other. For the nosings, we can choose different types, so half round, a chamfered or rectangular. Let's just go for chamfered. We'll apply this to the front edge and both ends. So again, for units that connect, we just leave that on the front edge. And then the upstand, what we can do with that is choose if it's rectangular or if it's radiused. So going for a rectangle, we will bring it up 200mm, we'll leave it 20mm thick. We can apply to all the edges, but then what we can actually do is go and put an offset in here. So what we'll do here maybe is to cap off the ends quite nicely. We'll just return them as 100mm effectively, so I'm just 500mm deep in this case. But that's closing off the shape, giving them a nice freestanding unit. What I will do is go in and change the surfaces. So again, I like things to stand out. So let's have a black bench. And in case somebody bumps into it, we'll make it nice and bright yellow. And we can make the upstand, I've actually seen this done where you make the upstand a good few 100mm high and make it mirrored. But let's just make it red. So all we do now is check the display options. We can set things like the resolution, if outlines are visible, and then what labels visible in the plan view if required. But basically we take that, drop it into our building, quick marquee around it, and we can have a look at it in 3D. So you can see the grain of the wood on the cabinets. We can see very clearly the upstand and the nosing that's been applied. And we can see the overall finish of our cabinet that's been placed there.